Every Christmas, Christians everywhere take time to think about one story, the birth of Jesus. It's a heartwarming story. It's spiritually uplifting, comforting, exciting, and full of love and hope. This story is the beginning of Christ conquering sin and death. There's no better story. Yet, there's one part of this story that we often overlook, the rather boring and difficult to read opening of Matthew's Gospel. The New Testament of the Bible and the beginning of Jesus' biography start with a list of names. It can be a bit painful to read through this whole list, and it's much easier to skip ahead to the narrative or story part. There's an important purpose to Jesus' genealogy. It's the preamble. It gives the background and context to understand Jesus' fantastical place in the story of God's people, thousands of years in the making. It's the setup before the story of Jesus begins. The Gospel of Matthew says, "Thus there were 14 generations in all, from Abraham to David, 14 from David to the exile to Babylon, and 14 from the exile to the Messiah." Matthew has 3 sections to his introduction, each telling a different part of the story of his people. First, there was Abraham, the father of a nation who started it all. God made a promise to Abraham that his descendants would be a great nation, that they would inherit the land of Israel, and that through them, all the families of the world would receive a blessing. Second, there was David, the greatest king of Israel. David had become a symbol of hope for his people, a king from the tribe of Judah who united the broken nation of Israel and led them to great prosperity and glory. Israel was hoping for a future king who would forever rule the world as David had ruled Israel. Finally, Matthew reminds the readers of the exile, when Israel was taken away from their promised land and forced to live in exile in Babylon. Ever since their return from exile, the people had rebuilt their lives but felt disappointed. The new temple they built wasn't as glorious as the old one, and they were constantly ruled by foreign powers, most recently the Romans. They longed for God to finally give them true freedom. This is where Matthew's Christmas story starts, with people who are hoping for a better future, in spite of extremely difficult circumstances. In some ways, it's not so different from our world today. The story of Christmas begins with people looking for hope, waiting for God to step in and change their circumstances. Matthew's gospel message to this world is clear: have hope, the King is coming.